Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It is another episode of Holistic Love, your podcast where you get to learn about ways to grow beyond your current paradigm and foster healthy connections. I am Fox RedSky. I am your host and your cosmic matchmaker and your astrologer and all the things. And I am here today with some amazing people.
Hi, I'm Jenna Love, your love coach.
Hi, I'm Blair Kline. I own franchises.
My name is Ashley. I'm a personal growth coach.
Yes, and audience, y'all are today we're having an amazing conversation, and we're going to be talking about a really hot topic right now, which is sober living. And how is this a form of self-care and self-love, but also how does it affect our relationships to create more sustainability and authenticity? And I would really like to, welcome our guest today, the wonderful, the gorgeous Mrs. Blair Kline. She is really, y'all have no idea. Like she's a magical woman. She does so many things, and I'm very grateful to know her and to have her as a friend. But yeah, like we're gonna talk about this because she knows the statistics, man, and there are some powerful statistics that I think that we all need to pay attention to. It's information, and when we have that kind of information, it'll make us make better decisions. So,
Yeah. No, thanks for having me. This is amazing. All of you guys have been amazing. So when it comes to sobriety, I think that there's a lot of misunderstanding and misconception. So whenever I talk about my sobriety, everyone has assumed that I've either done a lot of drugs or drank a lot of alcohol. And so other than a short stint in my early 30s, I didn't really drink much alcohol. So most of my sobriety has been chosen, and it was more so for health reasons than anything else. Mm-hmm. And it all started when I was in my early 20s. I didn't really drink a whole lot of alcohol. I learned that it was a neurotoxin, so I waited until I was about 30 years old before I started drinking. But in my early 20s, what ended up happening was they gave me pharmaceuticals. And so the pharmaceuticals were Prozac and Zoloft, which doesn't seem like a whole lot, but the withdrawals off of that caused a lot of psychological damage.
yeah.
And so I don't know if many people know what it feels like to go through Prozac withdrawals or SSRI withdrawals, but it lasts for a couple of years. And whenever I couldn't sleep, I would drink alcohol. So once I started learning about natural plant medicine, I had to use that in order to help mitigate some of the withdrawal symptoms. And that's how I started learning about sobriety and the sober community and really what drugs and alcohol do to your brain and your body. And that was the beginning of creating sober bars and alternatives to alcohol and a few other things.
Wow. Thank you so much for that. And yeah, go ahead, Jen. I know you look like you want to say something real quick.
Yeah, I'm just interested in knowing how it impacted your life and like how you show up differently now or.
Mm-hmm. So I have this coach. He's an amazing coach. His name is Graham Betchett. He basically is a mindset coach for, I apologize, I don't know much about basketball. The Sacramento Kings, I think the Huskies, and is it the Utah Jazz?
Utah Jazz.
Yeah.
Am I? Sorry, Graham. So when I met him, what I learned from him through mindset was whenever you drink alcohol, what it does is it affects your mind. So I'm not an athlete, right? So my body isn't really an asset the way that athletes are. So it's not like I'm a football player or an NBA player, but my greatest asset is my mind. So my mind has to be super sharp, right? And whenever I drink, it's such a good time. Perfectly honest with you, I enjoy it a lot, but I don't enjoy the next day or the day after,
Right.
and it causes brain fog. So sometimes I'll do projects and me and my team will have to sit for anywhere from 12 to 16 hours, and I have to be on and sharp, and I have to strategize and be coherent with my team and just with my friends and family in general. So drinking alcohol really caused a lot of brain fog for me, and then it caused fatigue.
Right.
So in order for me to have a better role in my businesses and with friendships and relationship, I had to start treating my brain and my mind as though it was the greatest asset of all time.
Oh,
So-
thank you so much.
Yeah.
And Ashley or Jenna, do you have experiences with alcohol or sobriety, or like any stories you want to like add on to that?
Yeah, well, I started at like almost like maybe 19-year-old doing like shots. Just I didn't understand why people like it, because I'm just seeing that everyone is doing it. I'm like, everyone's they're saying woo, and it's like having a fun time. So it must be good, right? Let's see what all the fuss is about. So I tried it, and it was the most disgusting thing. I'm like, why are the people loving this? But then I realized it was the feeling, and I'm like, oh, the feeling. It gives you loose. It gives you more confidence. It gives you, yeah. So I like for a while I was doing it for following the crowd to fit in. But then I noticed that it wasn't helping me the way I showed up, like at work. I like, you could tell my baggy eyes, like my health, and it affects your mentally and physically. So that's one thing that that's how it happened with I just started noticing that it's not good for my health. Yeah.
Yeah. And you, Jenna.
To college, then I experimented a little bit and still just didn't really jive with it. Yeah,
I agree. You are your smartest when you're sober.
yeah.
You
Yeah.
make smarter choices.
Better judgment.
Better than,
Yeah, and just to add to y'all in terms of my own in the Native community, it is probably, in most communities where there's poverty, right, and there's not a lot of resources, a way of escaping is by drinking.
Yeah.
Is by taking drugs. And so just like you, I had parents that were a really good example as to why I don't want to drink. And I did experiment, but I was just never into it. Like, I was just like, I'm kind of like, whatever. And I was like a 2 minimum drink girl, kind of like, even in my 20s, I'd like, have like a little bit of alcohol. But like, as I started to really see, like, we all affect each other. Like, you don't realize, like, in order to have someone, you have to lead by example. Like my mother, if I wanted, she was drinking like a liter of vodka every day. And I know.
Wow.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Yeah. For like the last 40 years
Is
of her
she
life.
still drinking or no?
No. I have a
Wow,
story about that.
that's super
So, so it was a big prayer of mine, and a part, and I stopped drinking, and also I was being initiated into certain types of ceremonies, and it was a requirement. Like if you're gonna be holding down these ceremonies, Fox, you've got to stay on the red road, and that's what we call it in the Native tradition, is the red road. And so you have to be a clean vessel. But as I started to get sober and stay sober, my prayer was answered, and my mother has been sober now for 5 years.
Wow.
Oh,
That's amazing.
Yeah,
Like,
that's amazing.
Dude,
Did she drink alcohol mostly, or what did she?
at the end it was mostly alcohol.
Right.
Yeah, it was at the end. She was drinking like a liter of vodka every single day, and it's like almost like she was infested with demons, man. Like her personality would shift and change, and it was like another human being, and she was very violent.
It does. It causes
Yeah.
a lot of that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm interested to hear if she tried other substances, because normally people
Mixing.
will have
So-
a couple different substances, and
Before they get totally winged off.
I think so. I can't exactly remember what the stats are, but it's something along the lines of, people who normally like to drink alcohol also like to dabble in cocaine, because it allows them to drink more and then sober up when they need to.
So what was the catalyst for her sobriety was actually a Native American church peyote ceremony, which I do believe that, there's these plant medicines that, have been gifted to us by the earth to help us, process trauma and be able to get off these substances, these addicting substances. And she went to one Native American church, one peyote ceremony.
Wow.
And she never touched alcohol after that.
Beautiful.
Incredible.
She
Yeah,
never
that's
even had
awesome.
shakes or anything. I mean, it was literally a miracle. I've seen, that's why it's, to me, y'all guys, like, that's like the holiest of holy. I just have the utmost respect for those traditions, and I don't believe in charging for ceremony, none of that. Like, it's like, That's sacred. Don't mess with the sacred.
Yeah.
After I was gonna say, after she became sober, did your relationship become stronger with
Oh,
her?
she's like a whole nother person.
Wow. Yeah.
She's, I feel like someone just pressed Control Alt Delete on her.
Oh, wow.
It does.
Yeah,
It changes you on. I feel like it changes you on a cellular level.
Yeah.
So I didn't really go into too much detail about the withdrawal symptoms that it caused. It felt like your brain was like zapping is the best way to describe it, and it also felt like there were. I'm going to use this word lightly, but were almost just sounds in your head all day long, and it's just like clicking and clicking and clicking, and you almost can hear voices that are telling you things, and it causes depression. It's drugs and alcohol. I would say alcohol is a very easily acceptable drug, but opioids were very acceptable for a long time, and I think we've seen the crisis for that now. And so there's actually a lot more solutions out there than what people might think. It's just not being broadcast because of the FDA. So
Yeah, and I think that like we made cigarettes not cool. But there's a culture around alcohol. It's like, oh, it's my birthday, let's go drink. Oh, it's a celebration, let's go drink.
Any reason to drink.
And so we're human beings are hard creatures. We want community. We want we will do the thing to be socially acceptable, right?
Right.
And so by creating these new ways of being, like making sober cool, sobriety cool, it's so beautiful. And I think that we're gonna really, because like that's also where lust is. Love isn't from when you drink. You get how many bad decisions have you made because you got drunk?
I fell in love with someone because I was like in alcohol and drugs, and I'm like, and like now to think about it, that was like all alcohol and drugs, like, because you're in another, like you're not like your full sober self,
Right.
Yeah.
I think especially when people take things like MDMA or Molly,
that was it.
It causes you to
more affectionate and more connected
and
when it's all the
pair
drugs.
bond
Yeah.
in very unnatural way.
I was gonna say, I heard that you have sober bars. You said that.
I do.
Can you tell us more about what there is in the sober bar?
Sure. So I started a few years ago when I was kind of going through the withdrawals. Somebody gave me a product called kratom. I don't know if anybody has heard of that. It's just a plant from Southeast Asia. There's a lot of controversial topics around it, but for me personally, it pretty much saved my life. They gave it to me, and for some reason, it just felt like a cloud lifted off my shoulders, right? And for a few hours, I didn't know what it was like to be myself again, and I just felt it for a few hours. And so I started doing a bunch of research on it, and what I realized is the only place you can get it in are these smoke shops. And so I would go into these smoke shops, kind of see what they had in it. I would get it, but it was really uncomfortable and kind of embarrassing, honestly, because I think I discovered what a crack pipe looked like for the first time.
Yeah.
I guess it's cute. I don't know. So I went in there and I'm like, there has to be a better way. So I started my first plant medicine store a few years back. It was, and then throughout the last few years, I learned the process of making sure that it's clean, has no fillers in it. And so the whole point of it is having one ingredient, which is the plant. So I set up all these bars throughout San Diego and Orange County and Nashville. And basically you can go in and find different alternatives for alcohol, different alternatives for, your pain meds, Adderall, any sort of drugs, but it's a natural plant alternative for it, because most people, what you don't realize is that the overall assumption is that you just need to stop drugs and go cold turkey. But there's two factors to getting off of drugs. The first one is the physiological, and the second part is the psychological. So, for example, if I broke your leg right, or if you broke your leg right now, I wouldn't personally break it, but if you broke your leg right now, it's like it's like you don't want to love anybody at the moment. You don't want to
No,
have a
no.
relationship. You're just trying to fix your broken leg because it feels so terrible and you're in so much pain and it's physiological, right? And then once you start to subside some of those physiological symptoms, then you can move on to some of the psychological stuff like coaching, trying to find ways to better manage your addiction or find better ways to emotionally handle those stressors so that you don't reach for drugs and alcohol. And you need something in between, right? So in a way, it's using some of our products as like a middleman.
Right.
You shouldn't use it for a long time. I don't agree with that either. So we tell people to use it as needed and for a short period of time. And also it's like the middleman to help some of the symptoms as you go through the process of either withdrawing or getting sober.
Oh,
Beautiful.
yeah. I really think that we need to make it cool. I think and
Sober
Jenna,
is the new cool.
yeah, sober is the new cool. And speaking of, like in terms of love, in terms of relationship, how alcohol affects
Relationships.
know,
Yeah.
It's so true. I had a client actually this past fall who had this guy that she was just head over heels for. They were doing really well together until that one night where she had one too many and a part of her came out that scared him away.
Yeah.
And so, the alcohol can really be
Change you.
detrimental
Yeah.
to a dating experience, to really getting to know somebody, because you're not getting to know the real person, right?
right.
I had a relationship like that. Actually, there was a guy, one of my exes, that he was trying to date me, and then I found out his drunk side, and it scared me. And
Is he violent?
He
Or
became
just-
violent,
like
and
aggressive, not violent, but maybe
and
aggressive.
at one point, like almost grabbed me like really hard, and I'm like, whoa, this is not the guy I fell in love. I fell in love with a sober guy, and I said, don't touch me again. Like if you're gonna be this guy, this asshole, like drunk, I'm not talking to you ever again. And he changed. He stopped drinking. So it's like, that aggressiveness can come like when you're drinking or having alcohol,
Absolutely.
and ruin your relationship. Because it almost lost it.
And for me, I feel like it brings us into our lower chakras. It brings us into a place of like lust and desire versus like love and authentic connection. And so it's like, which like, I mean, if you ever go to a bar like that, I mean, it's like our primal needs are being like, who can I get, but versus like, wow, look at this incredible, amazing person. Like or maybe like, oh wait, red flags. This person's not the person So, I think the term is like beer goggles.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, it's like, so it's, I don't know. I've been sober for 10 years.
Wow.
that's
It's
nice.
really amazing.
And I love it. I like, the first 2 years was hard. Like every time there was pressure from like,
people.
that was the hard part. It
Friends.
was like, oh, well, come on, just have one drink. We're just going to like, and then
Let's
I'm like,
celebrate.
and then it was like,
It's my birthday.
as time started coming, and actually more people started coming to my side. So
Ah.
join the sober side.
That's a good side. Give me the good side.
It was almost like, then it was like, I made it cool for sure in my
That's
family.
really
My
good.
sister quit
Oh,
drinking.
wow.
My mom stopped drinking. Some of my cousins. So it was like,
You inspired others,
yes.
which is really
and
good.
so we don't realize, but
We
we
lead an example.
lead by example. Like that's how you teach children.
Creating that ripple effect.
Yeah.
I also think that sobriety isn't hard and fast rules. I'm not a big fan of rules, so and I don't have them for sobriety either. So I think that sometimes as I believe at this point we probably have had 30,000 people, maybe a little more, come through our stores, and what I've realized is that once people find their rhythm in the process, if they wanted to have a drink, they can. If, it doesn't necessarily mean that whenever you drink that you're, off the wagon. It just means that you may have had a drink and you just start over again the next day. Or for perhaps more people like me who choose to be sober for various reasons, like making sure that I'm on point in my career, in my family, and my friends, if I want to drink, that's okay too. It's just really all about being conscious in the decisions that you make. It's about, and I believe there's a lot of people who consciously drink. Like when I first started, I had really hard, fast rules about drinking. And some of my rules are you don't ever drink to hide, and you don't drink. And the only reason why you drink is to have fun and enhance that part of your life, right? So normally if I am drinking, which is maybe once or twice a year, it's just because I want to have a really good time, and I know that I don't need to do anything for the next 2 or 3 days. So I think it's all about consciousness more than anything else, if you are going to continue to choose to drink.
And I feel like also for people to not be so hard on themselves, like I know it's hard to get sober, so maybe they mess up like having one drink. At least like it's baby steps. Like as long as you're trying, like don't be hard on yourself, you know?
Yeah, I think that's beautiful.
Yeah. And also I was gonna say, like, you can lose yourself too of who you are. Like I'm gonna share a quick story. Well, I was young and didn't know much. That I had ex-boyfriends like show me like Xanax, and like they want me to kind of like blindly tell me like do it for me, you know. So I'm like, oh well, I want to satisfy him, you know. But I didn't know that he was like drugging me, like, you know, like. So this whole time I was just I stopped. Instead of getting to know myself, I was losing myself. And then I started noticing addicting problems, and that was a red flag. When I didn't have it around, then I started becoming someone that I've never met, and it was a crazy side. And I'm like, whoa, this is not the person I want to be. So yeah, just that's what made me like get away from that relationship. Was not good for me, and from drugs like that.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing,
No
Ashley.
problem.
I love y'all so much.
Thank
oh my
you.
God. Yeah, and the most important thing, audience, for those of y'all who are listening out there, is that we have this discussion and we give room. We give room for it. And you know, there's other ways of being. There's other ways of living life, and you can be fully conscious or like she said, you know, take your baby steps. And it's there's no judgment. Like you grown. But at the same token, like, but also know that there's another way. And it's fun too.
Is.
It's so fun.
And I think knowing, so for example, one of the statistics is, if you guys want to hear it.
Yeah, we want to hear it.
We want to hear some statistics.
Popcorn.
Yeah, I love it. I read a lot of abstracts, and it's 22% of all Americans are addicted to either drugs or alcohol. And we've seen that over the last few years with the opioid epidemic along with alcohol. And so Alcoholics Anonymous, they do a fantastic job releasing statistics on even the percentage of relapse. There's an abstract that came out where I believe it's if you're on alcohol or when you go into rehab, you have an 80% chance of relapsing in the first year. And it usually happens in the first 90 days. If you're doing drugs like an opioid or heroin or methamphetamines, you have a 95% chance of relapse. That is within the first year, in the first 90 days. Heroin is relapse within 30 days of leaving rehab.
Wow.
And so it takes the average person for every year of sobriety, it takes roughly about 5 relapse.
Wow.
So 5 tries. And so what that shows me is that even though those numbers are really, really grim, it also shows me that there is a lot of hope for sobriety as well.
Nice.
And if people are willing to leave the country and take plant medicine alternatives. So that is the numbers that I just gave you are for normal rehabilitation centers here in America. But if you leave the country, maybe go to a place like Mexico, there's psilocybin treatment centers. There's a a plant, a beautiful plant called ibogaine.
Wow.
From an iboga plant. It's found mostly in Africa.
Mm-hmm.
And you have, with the first treatment, they've discovered that 50% of people that go through this treatment have 50% chance of non-relapse. So it's 1 and 2. And after the third treatment, you have a 95% chance of non-relapse. So it's actually, most of it is the other way around. So there is so many alternatives to normal conventional treatments here in America. And it's also not that expensive. Yeah, I believe it's a few $1,000s. And they consistently have grants and and they have foundations and organizations that will donate to you as well. So it's
Thank you so much
fantastic.
for sharing that information
Really
with our
good.
audience. I appreciate that. Yeah, and I did want to mention, because I know that Ashley, here in Austin, Texas,
I was gonna add to that.
we have had a little bit of a problem. Spike.
Yeah, I was gonna say we got listed #1 city in Texas for the most fentanyl outbreaks. So a lot of deaths and overdoses are skyrocketing, and they say the most is downtown. So yeah, just wanna put that out there.
Is it for the general public or for homelessness?
I
in
didn't
general?
read up. I didn't see that. I didn't see the homeless. They just said like, I think it's general public.
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause-
Going to parties.
yeah. There's a lot of parties. That's the thing. The Austin is a party scene, and I've worked a
Got it.
lot in the night scene, and there's a lot, and I see it all the time.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, yeah.
You know what's interesting is I know there's something that's like even more potent than fentanyl that's been coming out over the last couple of years. It's called carfentanil.
What?
I think it's like, I don't know, 100 times stronger than fentanyl.
Wow.
Yeah, there's a lot of, I
Where's
think there's a
this?
lot of information that's out there. It's just kind of hidden behind behind sensational news, like news
Yeah.
stories. So
Yeah.
yeah, there's a lot of information, especially for young kids who are in high school who haven't heard about anything like carfentanil or fentanyl, where it's so pervasive nowadays, especially in San Diego, unfortunately.
Wow.
Yeah, there's a Facebook group called Every 11 Minutes. And I guess somewhere somebody is dying every 11 minutes from fentanyl.
Wow.
And I ventured on there recently, and there's just story after story after story of all of the people that are losing their lives. 2-year-old children,
Wow.
12-year-olds,
How?
10-year-olds, like
get into it.
their
They get into it,
caregiver or their caregiver passes out next to them, and they end up touching the medicine and end up dying from it. But
Wow.
it's really sad. It's almost like they're wiping out like a whole generation of kids that are like 17, 18, 19 years old. It'll be their first time ever picking up anything. It seems like from the statistics that I read, it's like 6 out of every 10 pills that are purchased off the streets have fentanyl in them. And it only takes 2 grains of sand-sized pieces of fentanyl to die, to overdose from it. And yeah, it's a whole thing right now. Much love to all the families that have lost someone from a fentanyl overdose, myself being one of these
Sorry.
people.
Yeah, I also have a friend that, but not from fentanyl. There's a popular, I'm gonna mention because I'm a lot in the night scene, that make it very normal, the ketamine. And now it's becoming like now it's like therapy, ketamine therapy. I'm not sure how to see about that. I feel like maybe with a professional, you can. It is like statistics that you can overcome depression. They tell you how much to take and everything, but not on your own and overdoing it.
Yeah, it's used for depression and used for PTSD and anxiety.
Yes.
So there's a lot of
Yeah. Makes.
We
yeah,
went
reverse.
down an alley.
Yeah. This is a very because it's life is so precious, y'all guys, and every minute that we have is a gift, and so like it's kind of heartbreaking to see the I mean, I know we went from a light, like, let's be sober life to
Yeah.
but like, this is the harsh reality. Like,
Yeah,
this
we have
is
to
what's
talk about
really
it.
going on. And yeah, I'm not really feeling,
Let's all take a deep breath.
yeah. Wow.
Well, we gotta put out the word out, and sometimes gotta be uncomfortable, like topics that, but we must talk about it to help others.
Yeah.
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 Well, y'all, I know this is thank you so much again, Blair, for showing up and late notice and last minute and all the things. And I'm just super grateful for what you're doing, your mission,
Yeah.
and just really you as a woman, because, you know, you have an amazing story. I wish we could have gone more into it another time. But and to all of our listeners out there who are struggling, there are resources. There are alternatives now, and so you're not alone. There are people who love and care about you, and yeah, like there's AA, there's all the things. So just know that you can always ask for help.
Yes.
Yes.
And so, Blair, share with us where people can find out about your stores.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they can go to kratomkavabar.com. We're in all of San Diego. I think I own about 80% of the sober bars there.
Wow.
And,
Amazing.
and I started a drink company a few months back, doing really well. It's an alternative for alcohol called Zero Proof. And so it's amazing alternative for it.
amazing.
So
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Can't wait to try.
it's good.
Yeah, I know that because we do events here in Austin. We were like, no, we don't want to have alcohol,
No way.
and so we would love to have
Oh,
some
that'd be good.
alternatives.
Alternatives.
Yeah,
For
it's
sure.
amazing. It feels great. It's like it kind of gives you a little bit of a buzz, because I would go to get-togethers and parties and things like that, and I would just like drink soda water and then just sit there, and it just doesn't feel quite as good.
Yeah.
So I was able to figure out how to
System.
put together a drink that makes you feel a little bit buzzed, but you can never get past that. And
Right.
That's
yeah,
really good.
So
Awesome.
you feel a
Yeah.
little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not going to go, get drunk, but it feels like you've taken a shot
Wow.
or so, but that's about it.
Cool. We'll have
Yeah.
to try it out.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Have girls' night.
Just get wasted on Zero Proof.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. And I want to thank you again so much for participating and listening to another episode of Holistic Love. Again, you are worthy of love. You are worthy of healthy connections. All the endless possibilities are there for you. And all you have to do is take the first step. And I am sending you so much love from the bottom of my heart. Ashley, any last words to the audience?
Just don't forget that you're never alone. There's always people around. Always call a friend. And just do healthy options. What about you, Blair?
Yeah, remember that we only have one body. We only get one precious body. So try and take care of it as much as possible. And I love you.
Aww, love you too.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, and if you need resources, it's always online. I think knowledge is such a powerful thing. So the more that you learn about whatever drug you're using or addiction or even sobriety, it's all online. They have amazing YouTubes. There's amazing resources, podcasts. So if it's about information, then it's free and everywhere. So just learn more about it.
Thank you.
Knowledge is power.
And also, where can we find you, Fox?
I'm like in the wind on the desert, floating in the sky.
Don't forget to follow, subscribe, and like.
Yes,
thank you.
that's right.